Hello everyone, Linda Israel here, and I thought I would share how to make this really cute Pin-Up Girl journals. I have downloaded the Calico Collage Pin-Up Girl images that are normally 5 by 7, and 2 images come to a page. But what I've done on my computer is I told it to print each page as a 5 by 7 image, and when I chose 2 of them, it put 4 images on a page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these out, and then I'm going to show you how I put these together. So I'm just using my Fiskars cutter, and I'm going to go around and cut out all of these images so that I can use them as a focal point on the front of these little journals. Now that I have trimmed these out, I'm going to pick a couple of these, or one in particular, to use, and I'm going to put some distress ink around the edges. So I'm just adding distress ink around the edge. It's Vintage Photo. It just kind of helps cover that white area that might be seen on the edge of the paper. My journal cover is a heavy watercolor paper that is 6 inches by 9 inches. It's because it's the paper I had. That's why it's this size. It's not that I bought it this way. It's just that I had a stack of papers that just seemed to work, and it's a heavier paper. And I'm going to go around the edges of this and distress it. So I just distress the edges of that. And then I've cut a piece of scrapbook paper to be 4 inches by 5.5 inches, and this will become a mat on top. And I'm going to go around the edges of this as well with the distress ink. And then I want to mount this, but I think I want to add a saying to it. So what I've done is I have a Silhouette, and I went in and typed in all of these little sayings, and I thought I would just pick one that I thought went really well. Let's see here. Here we go. This will be good. I'm still hot. It just comes in flashes. So I'm going to use the distress ink around the edge of this as well. Well, I think I have the pieces I want to use. I even have some lace laying here to see if I can find a way to use that. So what I've done on the other journals is I try to decide where I want this image to be, and I think that'll work. And so I'm just going to use a little bit of the best glue ever, and I've got the fine or no clog writing cap, which is the medium size. And the reason being is I don't want a whole lot of glue. I just want a little bit to keep this from moving around while I sew on top of it. And I'm just putting the needle back into it, and that's what keeps it from clogging. So I'm going to place this somewhat in the lower corner. And I know that I'm going to want to place this on top, but I think I want to do a zigzag stitch all the way around. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and stitch it up, and then I'll show you what it looks like. I want this little saying to be somewhat at the top and over to one side. And I think I want to put a little piece of lace on here. So I'm just going to look at my laces to see which one I think fits this image the best. I'm just kind of playing with them to see which one I like the best here. I think I'm going to go with this one, and I'm just going to cut 2 little pieces off, or 2 bumpies off as I call it, and place that on here right about there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some glue to the back side of this. So again, I've got the Best Glue Ever by ScraPerfect, and I'm going to go in here and just add a little bit to help hold this in place. I'm going to go to the sewing machine, and I'm going to stitch around this, and then I'm going to attach it to the cover and stitch around that. I have a stack of pages that I have put together, cut up for making these journals. Basically, it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper cut in half. In the case of the graph paper, it was just cut in half. The lined notebook paper, it was cut in half. So I like to lay out my pieces that I want to use. For the page with the pocket, this particular one was a page out of a book, and then this was one of my mop-up pages that I cut in half, and then folded in half and put as a sandwich this way, and then sewed down the sides. And then I've just got some scrapbook paper, so I'm just going to count out 10 pages and kind of alternate between these. Alright, so I have selected 10 pages. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to center these in my journal cover. Then I want to make sure that all these pages inside are lined up together. So I'm just making sure there's an equal distance with the notebook paper and the graph paper. Since they're a little bit shorter, I want them somewhat in the center. That looks pretty close. And then I've got these jumbo paper clips that I like to hold my works together. I've got some scraps of fun foam, and I've got a Tim Holtz craft pick from Tonic Studios, and then I've made a template. So my template is the same height as my journal cover. I've made 3 holes down the center, and I'm going to make what's called a pamphlet stitch. So what I like to do is V my book pages. If you have a bookmaker's cradle, bookbinder's cradle, it's perfect for that because it's got a V and it makes the papers nest together. So if you nest them together and then poke straight down through all the layers of paper 3 times, 1, 2, and 3. So that's where my holes are. If you can see 1, 2, 3, that my needle will go through. And I have a bookbinder's needle, and I'm going to start offering things in my shop, and these are stronger than like a darning needle or a needle that you would see in the yarn category at a store. And then this is waxed linen thread. It's a heavier thread. It does come in different colors, but I prefer to just use white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure out 3 lengths, 1, 2, and 3. And I like to go ahead and cut it free from the spool. If I was making a bunch of journals, I may even do twice this amount so I don't have to keep cutting my thread. So I'm going to start in the center. It's going to come to the outside. I'm going to make sure I don't pull my tail all the way through. I'm going to go to the top hole and bring this back to the inside. And what I find is if I hold this with my thumb and pull it up towards the top of the journal, then that frees up this hole so that I don't catch it with the needle. I'll go back through to the outside. From the outside, we're going to go through this hole at the bottom. Hopefully if I can get it straight. And pull this up. I'm going to see if this is getting tight. I'm going to slip this through the top thread. And then what I'll do is I'll take these 2 ends and I'll pull on them and make sure it's tight here. And I want to make sure it's tight there as well. And then I'll tie a square knot, which is basically taking the 2 ends and tying. And I'll do this twice. Sometimes I leave the tails long because I end up adding a little punched thing to them. Sometimes I don't. I'm going to remove the paper clips, and then if the book doesn't quite close all the way, I'll take my bone folder and I will rub the spine to help close that down, and then there is my journal. Let me move some stuff and I'll show you all the journals that I've made. So we'll start with this. It says, few people understand how much work it takes to be such a hot mess. You may be wondering why I'm making all of these. I have been invited to do a Pin Up Girl Bazaar here in Oklahoma in July, and they asked that I bring a bunch of pin-up things. So I thought I would make a bunch of these little journals to hopefully encourage some sales because of the cost. And I just thought the images are really cute. You know what I didn't do is on these I've put glitter paint, and I failed to do that on this one. Basically what I've done is I've taken the tulip glitter paint and I put just a few little dots on what is her clothing. And then I take a paintbrush and I'll just kind of move that around on her clothing. And then when this dries, it'll have a nice sparkle. And then I'll clean my paintbrush with a little bit of the best cleaner ever. I'll just put a squirt on there. I've got a little old towel here. I'm going to work it with my finger. And then I'll use the towel to help wipe up the excess. And then later I'll take this to the sink and wash it out. But this keeps my bristles from getting hard with the glitter paint. So that'll dry here in just a moment because it's a thin layer. It won't take very long. And now let me show you all of these. So I've got this one, Smart Sex. Oh, I should have said sexy. Dang it, I got sex. I think I'm going to have to do some alteration here. Let's see if I can make a Y. Alright, so it's supposed to be smart, sexy, and sassy. Deal with it. I just thought that would be cute. Good girls are bad girls that never get caught. There's another one I gotta fix. How come when I say I'm a good girl, everyone laughs at me? Everyone needs a smart-ass, sarcastic friend. I'm so happy to be of service to you. Remember, a diamond is just a piece of coal that made it through a long period of stress. Once you've accepted your flaws, no one can use them against you. My liver can no longer handle our relationship. I'm still hot. It just comes in hot flashes now. And then we have, few people understand how much work it takes to be such a hot mess. And then I have this one that I need to fix. So the inside, again, it's 10 pieces of paper folded in half, which makes 40 pages. Each of these little journals has a pocket. And then here are what the pages look like inside. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing this little tutorial on how to make a little journal, especially one with some pinup girls and adding a little bit of glitter and some lace and the text on here. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and of course, comment below if you have any questions or comments that you want to make. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. Check the description box for the link to my blog post, which lists all the supplies that I use, as well as check the description box for links to my social media, including my Facebook groups that I run. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you have a sassy day. Bye.